Good morning, everybody. This is our astrology weather forecast for the 10th of January, 2025, and it is not a heavily complex day. Mercury is in a quintile to Saturn, so it's a 72-degree angle, and the moon is in Gemini, and it is conjunct Jupiter, but it is also coming into a square to Saturn as the day goes on. So that's an interesting influence. We have the expansiveness of Jupiter, the experimentation and optionality of Mercury, Gemini stuff. And then we have the groundedness and the practicality of Saturn coming in. So it's not really a complex day. It's more of a multi-layered day that can lead to either a grounding or a shrinking away from what could be grounded because we don't have the maturity to really knuckle down with it, or we may not be ready. We may need more options or experimentation in order to come to a direct assessment of what we've got. So with the moon being in Gemini, this is a few days influence where our comfort zone, our mood, our primary attention is brought to options, making connections, what is more expansive or experimental. And these can be fun days with the moon and Mercury because we can be busier. We can be, more concerned with connecting with those in our daily life, more conversation. Absolutely, dating apps go crazy with the moon and Gemini because we are just scrolling to look at options, what might be better. And so it's a time with the moon aligning with Jupiter that exacerbates that. It's well, I would say that the entire transit of moon through any sign that Jupiter is in is going to give us a few days of, well, Mercury to Jupiter, moon and Gemini, if Jupiter happens to be there. There can be a couple of combinations. Sometimes Moon Jupiter oppositions, Mercury Jupiter oppositions, it can put us in a position where we pull away from what is steady or what is known and go towards what we're curious about, what is yet unknown. Again, options. We learn, we develop ideas, new connections in Gemini. And anything that Mercury touches or Moon in Gemini touches related to Jupiter will, it's like it pumps the bellows on anything. Jupiter does that. It exacerbates and enlarges and, just pumps hot air into anything that it comes into contact with. So we look at what's new, what's exciting, what's yet unknown or untested. But as the day goes by, the moon does form a square to Saturn. And this is where things get a bit more serious. So it gives us a chance to either explore new options, new conversations, new ways of thinking, new information, new sources. And then as the day goes by, we decide, what are we really serious about? What out of those new things, new people, new opportunities, new conversations. What is actually worth keeping? What is the what can ground, or what do we actually want to hang on to or grow more of? So it's a evening where we are more serious, and because the moon is in such an alignment with Jupiter and in Gemini, can feel more like a deflation process if we are looking at things from a more immature or resistant or rebellious point of view. But if we're really choosing, we don't feel like we are having to make a decision out of pressure or because somebody wants something from us, there's a deadline. If we're really understanding the nature of good and evil and making a deliberate, informed, healthy choice for ourselves, this can be a welcome influence because we realize that we are consciously taking responsibility for something. We're owning it. It isn't owning us. It's not something that is controlling us or pressuring us from the outside, and we must respond to it in their time, or we have to get that turned in, on time. And so we're never fully in. We're never fully present. Um, we don't want to be there or do that on all levels. And so we can pull it together if we're coming from the mature side of Saturn. And we can accept what's good for us, ground what's good for us, and understand the nature of responsibility, imperfection, and have enough gumption, grit, and maturity in us to both dance and to plant. We don't feel like we have to dance upon what it is that we've planted in order to have fun. There's not a conflict there. Because Saturn moon is always the root. They're coming into a square today. It's always the root, the moon. And then with it in Gemini, do we carelessly dance upon what it is that we have planted or invested in, what has taken root here? So it's a day where we can go from more playful, immature actions and behaviors and outlooks and come more into maturity as the day advances. So observe in yourself, how is it that this square strikes you? As the moon comes into a square to Saturn, do you really see it as a punishment, or do you see it as a gift that you get to consciously invest in and take responsibility for what might be difficult? It might require something of you. It might require an investment, but we know that in the long term, Saturn is the long term. In the long term, if we choose something that's good for us, we know that it will bear good fruit. But if we choose something that is too restrictive because it's not of our own, all in, all levels conscious choosing, those investments usually don't mature. They may not even bear fruit. When they do, it's like one of those peaches that you bite into. It's just like all hard and dry. It's all pit. So Look at how is it that you interpret responsibility?